Hi, everyone. This is Gary. Hope you all are well. Welcome to this week's live Path to Profit webinar. Welcome to all of you, no matter which program you're in, whether it's investor agent, flipping for profits without the risk, excuse me, um, rental problems, turning rental problems into real estate profits, of course, wholesaling, so everybody wins, and rental profits without the pain. So welcome aboard all of the veteran agents and investors online here, and also to all the new folks. So what started happening about a month ago, I didn't realize it, we're not only live when we start off, but we are actually recording. So we're recording now. In the past, I would turn this on and I wouldn't hit the recording button until a few minutes in, but the platform changed, and so we're actually live and recording. So welcome aboard, everyone. If you could do me a favor, I'm going to type in my chat box for you. Can you see my screen? Excuse me, and hear my voice. So if you could respond to that in your question box, that would be awesome. Okay. And so everybody so far is saying yes, and almost everybody's actually already logged in. Thank goodness. That's pretty good. Any case, little bit of housekeeping. Just remember, all of you who are live, obviously, you know the drill. If and especially if you've been on before, if you're new to the programs, you'll recognize that you're in default in mute mode, and that's by design because we can't have 100 or 1,000 people live at the same time. All right. So from time to time, we will unmute you depending on what we're talking about. If it's a conversation, would be a good idea, and everybody's going to hear it. So it's 100% unscripted, unfiltered. It is planned, but you guys choose the subject, of course. Each week, you let me know what you want to discuss, how we can plug in the holes for you. But for the most part, you use the question box to post questions, and I'll answer them during the session here. If you're getting this in recording mode, of course, you can't post questions. So always look for the recording the very next day from Beverly. She not only gives you the recording, she gives you updates to the platforms, the digital chalk learning platform, the silver members area platform, the if necessary, the community site that's out there for you. And sometimes content gets updated, like with the new tax plan that came out, stuff like that goes on. So the good news is all that's available to you in that email that comes out from Beverly every week, the day after the webinar. So always please look for that and read it. Look for her updates and instructions, and also the webinar schedule coming up and any other scheduling items. So real quick, one more thing. Speaking of scheduling, I am in Virginia this week, next week, and the following week. So the week of April 2nd, the week of April 9th, and the week of April 16th, I will be in Virginia. April 23rd, I'll be still in Virginia, but the 24th and 25th, I will be in North Carolina. Excuse me. And then, of course, I'll be back up here because we are having another 3-day event, Northern Virginia, April 27th, 28th, 29th. You're welcome to come no matter where you're from. However, it's probably going to be a pretty full house. In fact, I think there's already something like 12 people already registered, and we haven't even really promoted it. We're just promoting it here in Virginia. So I had a feeling that was going to happen. For some of you just came down to Orlando, so thank you for doing that. That was pretty awesome. Don't feel like you got to come again right away, although it might be a good idea, especially if you're in driving distance, because it'll really help solidify and ramp up your retention rates on anything we've been learning. Also gives you a chance to network again and so forth and so on. If you already are in the program, if you're in the mastermind or coaching programs, several of you are on tonight, you actually get to go for free. You don't have to pay for any other events. If you've already been to one and you're in the mastermind level, coaching level, you get to go for free. You have to pay for your room, of course, but we'll give you the meals and all the learning. All that is you've already earned that. So that's for like Pam, Tom, Daryl, Fast, all you guys. If you even Ryan, I know you're all the way out there on the West Coast, but just know that you get that as a privilege for being at the mastermind level. So in any case, that's the schedule for the month. I won't go into May in detail. However, I will tell you in May, I will be in North Carolina the first half of May and South Carolina the second half of May. And some of those dates are already set, but I'll give you that schedule later on in the month of April. In any case, tonight's subject, guys, it's been a while since we covered this, and usually this things kind of make sense when you think about this, but based on what we've been discussing, probably off and on since the beginning of the year, focusing on rentals and flipping. We've talked about wholesaling, property management, but we've been going over the calculators and the different worksheets available to you in your programs. And of course, all of that's available in the silver level members area that all of us have access to if you're a current student. If your program is, if you've gotten through your program, your year's up, you can still be on the silver level members area. You just have to stay opted in. And there's a lot of benefits to that, obviously, because you get everything, including the weekly ongoing webinars, but also all the updates, all the content updates, and any other tools we provide, like the cash buyers report, the private lenders report, all that's out there. In any case, all these forms are out there also. Okay, so what I want to do tonight is go into just the main things of when it comes to remodeling. Okay, we'll focus on flipping, and we'll give you the exceptions when it comes to rental properties. Okay, it's one of the biggest parts of our business. It's also one of the areas that drives us crazy the most. Dealing with the remodeling, dealing with contractors, materials, all that kind of stuff. It's time consuming. We change our mind sometimes on what we want to do to the property, and that causes other ripple effects in the world of contracting, which we'll talk about. But what I want to do tonight is focus on the material end of things and the type of work to be done when you're remodeling. We're going to get very specific tonight. If we have time, we'll talk about the contractor relationship. If not, we'll do that perhaps next week. Okay. Well, by the way, on the 24th, the webinar on the 24th, we do have a special guest. He's going to be talking about, his name's Marcus, by the way. We're going to be talking about how to basically buy tax lien certificates. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is the rules change. The rules are different state by state. Okay. So there is information that we have on that. We haven't published it, and it literally goes into every state and every province in Canada, every state in the U.S., every province in Canada. So once we have the guest speaker on, his name's Marcus. He's from Austin, Texas. At some point thereafter, we will promote, or excuse me, we'll publish the information first for free for all of you, all the folks who are active. Okay. Then after that, it'll be open to the public, and they'll have to pay for it. You guys get it all for free, obviously. So keep an eye out for that. So sorry for the diversion there. I want to focus on tonight's content. Real quick, though, let me just do this. Let me check for questions, because I saw some the question bar moving here. All right. William Maloney, Module 7 is on the screen. Yep. Hey, Bill. How you doing? This is Gwen. Hey, Gwen. Gary, I haven't received the silver platform from Beverly yet. Hey, Gwen, if email Beverly back. I know she sends you an initial email with logins and passwords. I think you get initially the digital chalk platform, and then I believe another one has to come from TO for the silver level. So if that's what you're referring to, Gwen, please respond to the email you got from Beverly, and she'll get a hold of TO. Let him know that he hasn't gotten that to you yet. Yes, it's a different login and password, by the way. I think you can make it the same, but it's a different platform. Okay, I'm going to reduce the panel, guys, so I can concentrate on the material, and let's go ahead and dig right in. Like I said, contracting can be the part of the business that gives us, you know, a lot of our headaches, a lot of our gray hair. It can be dramatically improved with some basic information and basic understanding. So tonight, what I'll do is we'll go over material and labor and the types of remodeling to do. Okay. And then whenever we have time, we'll go into the contract relationship. There's absolutely some things you need to know there. They're going to help you run smoother projects, keep them on budget, keep them on schedule, to a greater degree of accuracy than you may have previously imagined. Okay, we're going to focus on a couple of things here initially. We call it lipstick and rouge. In the world of remodeling, lipstick and rouge means carpeting and painting. We'll just start there because it's the easiest thing to do, and then we'll get into a lot more detail. Okay, and this is all in your material. All right, it's all in your material. When you're remodeling, I want to kind of go over something here real quick with you. When you're looking at first you're looking at a property analytically. You're basically doing your information sheets, your analysis sheets, trying to figure out, what's wrong with the property, what has to be done to it to improve it and correct it, make it better and more livable. Okay. And then later on, when it comes to actually correcting those things and making the improvements, you really should switch gears and think of it from the consumer's perspective. Because right now your brain is in the mode of I'm the investor, I'm the agent, or the combination investor agent. Okay. What really helps is to think of it from a consumer's perspective. So drive down the street. They'll just walk you through this. Okay. You're driving down the street. The first thing you notice is, of course, the driveway, the sidewalk, the yard, and the mailbox if it's out front. You want to start taking notes on it if you haven't already. Cracks have to be fixed in the driveway. Cracks in the sidewalk have to be fixed. Um, a leaning mailbox or an old mailbox needs to be replaced. I know these are obvious things, but a lot of people, what they do is they go right to the house and start on the inside first. And the reality is it's actually outside, because that's the first thing that your client's going to see, whether they're renting from you or they're buying your flip. Okay. So think about it the way they're going to see it, what they're going to see first, second, and third. And that's how you approach it. So we always do look at the outside first. So once we've done, of course, the driveway, sidewalk, mailbox, shrubbery, landscaping, right? We're of course going to look at the front door. Now let's just stop right there. Landscaping. Everything we do has to be appropriate for the neighborhood. I know some people want to have the shining example of the best landscaping in the neighborhood, and that's all well and good if you live there. But if you're doing this for profit, which almost all of you are here, just think about what fits in the neighborhood and keep it there. Don't try to win the annual neighbors landscaping award. That's not what we're here for. We're here to actually make a profit. Okay. Um, in a case of landscaping, you want it to have it be nice. And this is one of the rare occasions where good enough is good enough. Okay. You don't have to, in most cases, I would say good enough is not good enough. You want to be great. But when it comes to landscaping, you can spend a lot of money and not bring an extra profit, right? So in any case, landscaping. Then you move around the other sides of the house and look at the siding of the house. Look at the chimney if there is one. Look at the outsides of the windows. Look at the roofing. All of that has to be looked at. And by the way, I need to regress here just for a second. In the backyard, you may also be dealing with a swimming pool, a swing set, a fence, a shed, things like that. If any of those are dilapidated, get rid of them. We don't replace them. We just get rid of them. Okay. If they're in good shape, then yes, you can keep them. Pools are always an interesting subject. If you're in, California, Florida, Texas, the states in what we call the smile, from west to east and the south, you have a lot more pools. So pools are to be expected in a lot of areas. If you have a pool there, you definitely want to make sure it looks nice. If there's no pool there, don't add one. Okay. Now, in other areas of the country, if you're up, above the Mason-Dixon line, pools are fewer or further between. We still have them. We have pools up in Canada. Okay. We just have to heat the water to be able to use it. So I generally don't like them. All right. In fact, I'll go as far as actually filling them in those parts of the U.S. and Canada. Only in the southern states where we actually keep pools. So in any case, outside first, and then we go on the inside. So let's just assume we're now on the inside, and we'll kind of work our way back outside here in a minute. Let's start with the kitchen. First things first. Just because a kitchen doesn't look so great, it doesn't mean you need to put in new kitchen cabinets. What I really want you to strongly consider is the advantages and benefits of simply replacing the door and drawer fronts, the countertop, the knobs, door and drawer knobs, and of course the kitchen sink itself, the sink and as well as the faucet. You'd be surprised at what you can accomplish by replacing door and drawer fronts and the knobs and the countertop. it's, short of, it can be expensive, but not nearly as expensive as replacing an entire set of kitchen cabinets. If the kitchen cabinetry itself is decent, in other words, structurally it's sound, the hardware is sound, those are the opportunities to upgrade with door and drawer fronts. It'll save you a ton of money. You don't have to do all that crazy measuring and fitting and all that stuff. It's just a huge project, okay? And the cool thing is, at the end of the day, most consumers just assume it's a brand new kitchen because you've replaced the countertop, the doors and the drawers and the knobs, right? And you should replace the sink and the faucet too, right? So that's one thing you're going to be able to do to save a lot of money. Now, the one exception I will make is this. I'm sorry, two exceptions. If I have a place close by that basically resells kitchens, just like there are places that resell furniture, just like there's places that resell cars. There are places that resell material that's being removed from houses that are going under remodeling. If the contractors are conscientious, they won't just rip everything apart. They'll remove the cabinetry, bring it to these places that resell. Oftentimes they're working for Habitat for Humanity, so they're raising funds. All the material is all donated. Okay, the benefit to the area is that people like you and I can go in there and pick up these nice kitchens for pennies on a dollar, right? And all the proceeds go to something like Habitat for Humanity, right? Great way to help the community and keep your costs down. So I will go there from time to time, see what they have in stock. It's the kind of thing, guys, if you do this, you literally have to go on a regular basis. Just go every month or go twice a month, because their inventory changes all the time. You never know what you're going to get. And you want to make a habit of going there, partly because you can get a lot of really good material there, but also you'll get the rare golden gem, like a brand new kitchen that won't cost you 50,000 bucks. You can get it for maybe 5,000 bucks, right? And then install that in lieu of the door and drawer fronts. Okay. Now, another exception I'll make is this. If I'm flipping a house in an area where the average house is, let's say what we call affluent. In most places in North America, that's a million and above. All right. In Manhattan, that's going to be like 6 million. But regardless, the point is this: if I'm flipping in an affluent area, I absolutely will put in a brand new kitchen from A to Z and start to finish. Okay, it's worth the investment in that. Everything is relevant. Everything's appropriate for the marketplace. So, in any case, that's my basic spiel on door and drawer fronts in kitchen. For bathrooms, oh, by the way, back to the kitchen. Sorry, one more thing. When it comes to appliances, in most middle-class neighborhoods, you don't have to have state-of-the-art, super expensive, Viking stoves and sub-zero freezers, refrigerators, and things like that. Here's what I want you to write down. I have had more luck over more jobs with Kenmore appliances. Okay, I know you might be thinking, well, Sears is going out of business. Well, you can buy Kenmore appliances at other places than just Sears. I've been doing this for a lot of years, over 30 years, and I can tell you I've never had a problem with any Kenmore appliance I ever bought. They've been around a long time. They provide great service, great warranties, and basically a product that doesn't ever go wrong. I've never had a problem with Kenmore. So keep that in mind. And also look for really good deals. Sears is still in existence, by the way. In fact, I just bought a brand new KitchenAid. What's it called? What's the mixer? Artisan mixer from them, right? And they actually had the best deal. So Sears throughout the year will have really good sales. They also have an outlet called Scratch and Dent, where you can get appliances that have a minor ding or a dent that might be on the side or the top or the back that you'll never even see anyways, and save yourself a bundle of money. So in any case, when you're replacing appliances, keep in mind that you want them all to match. Okay, so if I'm going to do a refrigerator, I'm going to do the refrigerator and the stove and the dishwasher. Okay, and I'll even do a microwave in almost all my flips. Those are the 4 things I provide: refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, and microwave, all matching, same brand name, same style, same everything. All right. and people love that. And nowadays, having the like the chrome or the polished steel, things stainless steel, that you can't go wrong with that right now. Just like a lot of things in life, we go through phases as far as what's good for style, but right now you can't go wrong with that. I would avoid anything that has to do with colors. The old days in the 70s, like green and orange, and just don't even go there. Just go with the stainless steel. Okay. In any case, that's appliances. But let's jump to the bathroom, and then we'll talk about some other components. All right. So in the bathroom, another really good thing I can share with you that's going to help you save a ton of money is, instead of replacing a tub, which can run into the thousands of dollars easily. I mean, most tub replacements, you're looking at a minimum $2,000. It's hard work. It's a complicated project. It's definitely not something any weekend warrior should attempt on their own, without having professional help. So what I'm getting at here is, you can actually take an old tub, and as long as it's cast iron, the base of it, that is, you can reglaze it. So if it's got little nicks and dents and scratches and pieces of the glazing chipped, the porcelain chipped, you can actually reglaze that, and it looks like it's brand new. And I found kitchen and bathroom businesses, or even companies that specialize in reglazing, that will reglaze a tub for as little as $400. I don't know about you, but $400 is a lot less expensive than $2,000, and you can't tell the difference other than maybe the shape of the tub. But when it's reglazed by a professional, it looks like it's brand new. It's amazing. Okay. So sticking with bathrooms here, let's continue on for a second. I'm going to keep this page here because it's going to talk about carpeting, which we'll get into in a minute. So back to the bathrooms. I don't like bathtub enclosures. I'm sorry, the glass doors. I don't like those at all. They're just nothing but a pain in the neck. But I will absolutely retile the tub, above the tub liner itself. I'll retile the walls, back, front, and side, because you can do that relatively inexpensively. And when you reglaze the tub and you retile, boy, it looks like a nice new kitchen, or bathroom, excuse me. Also, always replace the toilet. Okay, it's very inexpensive to replace the toilet. Get a good one. By the way, you want to write this down. We always use American Standard plumbing fixtures. American Standard. Okay, faucets, toilets, tub, the diverter kit, all of that we make American Standard. And there's a couple of reasons why. One of them is they're affordable, but they're not cheap. They're affordable. Another reason is the product that you and I get off the shelf at like Lowe's or Home Depot is the same product that the plumbers get from the plumbing houses. It's one of the only manufacturers that does that. Other manufacturers, the product you get at the plumbing supply house, even though it's the same name, model name, it's not the same process, not the same manufacturing process that consumers get off the shelf at Lowe's or Home Depot. American Standard is the only one where they actually do the same. Okay. They also stand behind the product, usually like lifetime warranties. I mean, just amazing product support there. So I love American Standard. Okay, the vanity. We almost always replace the bathroom sink cabinet and the sink itself. If we're going to go through and retile around a tub, reglaze the tub, put a new floor, which we'll talk about here in a minute, replace the toilet, we want everything to look like it's brand new. And you don't have to spend a fortune on those cabinet sink combinations. They're just not that expensive. Okay. And when they're brand new, it shows. They look like they're brand new. So obviously you want to replace the mirror that's above it, typically, if it's a medicine cabinet. Lighting is also very important in a bathroom. One of the big complaints we have consumers is there's just simply not enough lighting in the bathroom. So you always want to provide overhead lighting and lighting around the mirror that goes above the sink. Okay. One of the coolest things I've seen is the mirror light assembly that's one and the same, and the lighting is around the entire perimeter of the mirror. People go gaga over that, and it's just not actually that expensive. Okay. All right. Always paint your bathrooms uh, semi-gloss because of all the water and all the handprints. Now, the one drawback is if it's an old bathroom and it's not properly vented, it will sweat. You'll have beads of water beating up like on the ceilings, okay, when people take showers. So, but most bathrooms these days are vented and or have windows to the outside. So that's one thing you have to have is a vent or a window. Um, okay, now let's do this. I want to talk about painting and carpeting. We kind of touched on flooring a little bit, but we'll go over it more thoroughly. When it comes to painting, other than the bathroom and the kitchen, I generally like to use satin paint. It's not semi-gloss. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's not real glossy like a semi-gloss. But it's also not flat like a flat paint or an eggshell. We just absolutely do not like flat or eggshell paint. It's too easy to stain. You can't clean it up. You just basically have to repaint over top of it. It's a shame. But satin can often be cleaned up, wiped off. If you got a handprint, you can wipe it off, okay? Um, Now, we generally will make the trim work a different paint than the flat wall and ceiling surfaces. So satin on the walls, for example, the trim work we will make semi-gloss. And one of the neat things you can do is instead of making it two completely different colors, make the trim a variation of the color of the walls, enough to make a difference, but not enough to be like overwhelming. So people can tell the trim, it's like two-tone paint. The trim is painted with a different shade of the color that the walls are painted. So for example, beige, let's say you're going with beige, you might have desert sand on your trim and beige on the walls. Same color, same family of colors, different shade, okay? Um, in any case, you definitely want to do two-tone on the painting, even if you're just doing all white, like in a rental apartment. Make sure the trim is always semi-gloss and the walls are satin. And I would probably go with an off-white on one of those two surfaces, preferably on the wall, and then do plain white semi-gloss on the trim. All right. Um, Now, back to lipstick and rouge. We talked about um, the lipstick. Let's talk about the rouge, okay, which is your carpet. Um, in rentals, and I'm going to kind of draw some distinguishing characteristics here between remodeling for rentals and remodeling for flipping. When I'm remodeling for rentals, we use, and you want to write this down, it's Shaw Candy Truffle. I think it's right here in the material. Let me just page down here. Yep, there it is. Okay, Shaw Candy Truffle. Shaw is the manufacturer. Okay, it's a good quality brand name, well known. And Candy Truffle is the style. It's the color and the style. It's basically a pile, but not a real deep high pile. It's medium pile. In Candy Truffle, the insider joke is we call it the color of dirt. Okay, um, you could have kids walk through this stuff with dirt on their boots, and it won't matter. By the way, real quick, when it comes to the grade of carpet on the rentals, we do the entry level grade. There's basically three weights. We use the bottom weight, the lighter weight that is. However, on the padding, we upgrade on the padding. Okay, always upgrade on your padding. It'll make the carpet look better and wear longer. This is really important in your rentals, by the way. Now that's carpeting and rental. On the flips, we'll still go with Shaw, but we'll use an upgraded carpeting. We won't use the entry level or low grade carpet. Or the lightweight carpet they call it. We'll use a higher grade, and we'll still do a higher grade on the padding underneath. The padding will make a real difference when people are walking through. If you have them take off their shoes when they come in, which you should do on your flips, by the way, lends more prestige to the house you're flipping. But also they get to experience the upgraded padding and the carpeting. So it feels like really good carpet. The thing is, you don't have to spend $50 a yard for carpeting and padding. I mean, heck, on the rentals, we're spending like 15, $16 a yard for decent carpet and upgraded pad. I mean, those are the expensive areas. We've had areas where we can carpet, for 10, 11, $12 a yard for the same carpeting. On the flips, though, you don't want to put that kind of carpet in the flip. generally you're flipping in a decent neighborhood, like B level, right? B level neighborhood. So usually upgraded carpeting and the upgraded padding both, all right, in the flips. Now, as far as coloring goes, you can go with something like candy truffle. It's a fairly neutral color, but you might want to consider something like desert sand or something like that. Don't go real dark on the color, by the way. Keep it lighter. Keep it lighter shades, all right? Makes the place look bigger, by the way, when you do that. So that's the carpeting. Now, other flooring. I've had a lot of people ask me over the years, well, Gary, why I like hardwood. Should I put hardwood in my properties? In the case of rentals, I would generally not put hardwood in the rentals. It'll just get beat up, okay? And sometimes I can recarpet a room for less money than I can refinish a hardwood floor, all right? So hardwood floors are okay in flips. And here's my rule. Generally in the living rooms and dining rooms. In my flips, I will always carpet the bedrooms. But if I have a great hardwood floor in a common living area, living room and dining room, I will keep it there and I'll actually refinish it. Okay. It really adds a great complement to the carpeting the surrounding areas, like the hallway, for example. It's a great contrast and a great complement. And also you can throw down area rugs if you're staging your house, which you should probably do when you're flipping. By the way, one of our students, Katie Crowell, flipped her first home. She staged it, and now she stages for other flippers. It's well worth the investment. It's not that expensive. For those of you up in Wisconsin, in northern Chicago area, give her a buzz, or you can look her up on the profile site. Okay. Any case, back to this. Hardwood floors, I'd say yes in living rooms and dining rooms and flips, and I'll leave it up to your judgment for the other areas. How about that? All right, now tile. Always I tile in the kitchens and bathrooms, all right? And yes, I do it on flips and rentals. I never put carpeting in either of those two rooms. And in the kitchens, I always go with the thickest tile I can possibly find. And the reason is well, people, if and when they drop stuff, pots and pans, butcher knives, mallets, they're not going to damage a really thick, dense tile like a thin tile would be damaged. Okay, so if you're gonna do rentals, put tile in those in the kitchen and go with the really thick stuff. Now, what's a really neat hint here? Throughout the year, the different flooring supply houses. Now you can go to Lowe's and Home Depot, of course, obviously, but there's different companies that do only flooring. And from time to time, they'll want to get rid of a certain stock and they'll put it out on pallets and make a great deal out of that. Go get the stuff on the pallets. As long as it's somewhat neutral, remember, you're not putting it in your home, you're putting it in a rental, okay? So that's my take on carpeting, hardwood flooring, and tile. Now, hang on one second. I need to get some more light here on the subject. There we go. We talked about bathrooms, talked about painting, talked about carpeting, tiles, hardwood living room, dining room. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to go to other things. So windows. Let's talk about windows. The brand name I like on windows is American Craftsman. You can usually get them at Lowe's and Home Depot. They're affordable. They're quality. They have 30-year warranties. They're vinyl clad, double pane, double hung, and they got a great warranty. They're easy to install. I've even installed them myself, if you can imagine that, years ago. They're that easy. I use the same brand name on my doors too, American Craftsman. So you don't have to go gangbusters with doors though. If you've got a decent set of interior doors, maybe just paint them, right? But if you have any that are damaged and you've got to replace them, we really encourage you to replace all the doors. Make them uniform so they all look alike. And if you're going to replace 3 of them, you got 7, just replace the other 4, right? Particularly in your flips. You definitely want to do that in your flips. Also, we always replace all the doorknobs. Doorknobs are cheap, very inexpensive, and they really make a place look nice. Okay, that adds a lot of. It just gives the impression that you left no stone unturned. And when consumers see that, they start thinking, their mindset is, let's see what else this guy did. He really did it. He replaced everything, including the doorknobs. Which leads me to the next thing. Uh, Outlet and switch plates. Always replace them. Brand spanking new. You can get them for like in bulk, like 5 and 10 cents a piece, or that expensive. It only takes 60 seconds to replace one too, by the way. And if you're going to paint and carpet and put on doorknobs, boy, you really ought to replace all the out and switch plates. Okay. Um, okay, lighting. I will keep existing lighting as long as it's in good shape and it's fairly contemporary. But if I have something under that looks like it was from the 1970s, I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. And put in brand new lighting. Lighting is not that expensive either, and it really dresses up an area. So lighting is important. We talked about interior doors, exterior doors. Remember, a person's first contact with a property is typically the front door knob and the door itself. So you want that door to look really good. The front door, particularly. You don't have to have the same grade of door on the back door that you do on the front door. But if you're going to replace the front door and the back door looks old and out of style, just replace it. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about. We talked about noise. Let's talk about siding. I love flipping brick homes. However, siding is all over the place. Even in the affluent, high-end neighborhoods, you still see siding. So what I look for in siding is I want to have a vinyl siding. I don't like aluminum siding. It dents too easily. It starts to fade. The paint starts to fade. The vinyl usually looks better longer. The paint is baked in when they make the vinyl, as opposed to aluminum. So aluminum, they actually bake it on. That's not baked in. It's baked on. But in any case, if your siding looks old and dingy, replace it. Absolutely replace it. Okay. It'll really lighten up the house and spruce it up, especially if you're replacing windows. Okay. It'll literally look like a brand new house. Um, uh, Decking is another really important thing when it comes to flips. The cool thing is you don't have to spend a fortune on decking. There's a lot of variables. Let's say you've got an existing 600-foot deck and it's got warped deck boards and stuff like that. But the basic structure, the post and beams are in pretty good shape. Keep the post and beams, but instead of putting down another layer of wood, like we're ripping up the old deck boards and putting down new deck boards, go with the tech stuff. Okay, it's manufactured. It actually doesn't get as hot as wood does in the summertime. You don't have to keep restaining it and finishing it and all that kind of stuff. You just basically hose it off when it gets dirty. I love that tech stuff. When it comes to design for decking, if you're limited, let's say you're up on a second floor and all you can do is put in your post and put in a basic deck, that's okay. But if you're lower down, if your deck is going to be ground level or maybe a few feet above it, you've got some really neat options here. One of them is you can have multi-tiered decking. So go out from your kitchen or your family room, whatever the case is. Go out, 8, 10, 12 feet if you want, and then drop down a foot or two, do another level, then drop down another level. And when you get down to the actual ground itself, make that like a slate patio. So you basically have multi-tiered decking. You might need a railing on anything like that's above 2 or 3 steps and above. But if it's like just a step up off the ground, you don't need a railing. So what I'm getting at is you might have a railing on your upper level, and as you tier down towards the ground level, you can get rid of your railing, put it up, and makes it look a lot bigger. It's like 0 level clearance decking. It does wonders for a house, and it makes it very easy to sell. Okay, it's a great upgrade. And by the way, I will tell you that there have been reports in different magazines for remodeling construction that tell us that decking and siding actually gives you a higher return on investment than even kitchens and bathrooms. Go figure. So you definitely want to put some time into your decking and siding. All right, now you notice we move back outside, and that's on purpose. It'll make sense here in more in a minute. If you have a brick property, I love brick. Brick is always easier to sell, typically more demand, as long as the brick looks really good. So if you have an older home where the brickwork, you're seeing a lot of chipping on the bricks, and worse yet, the mortar is starting to wear out, and you've got gaps in the mortar, you definitely need to have a professional take care of that. It's not something I would do yourself. It's just too time consuming and too tedious. But pay a professional to do what's called brick pointing, which is they go in between the bricks and they basically remortar, or they just simply patch what's already there. It's also a safety feature. You don't want to have um, a lot of brick surfaces where the mortar is starting to wear out and chip and fall away. That's actually dangerous. You definitely want to point all your brick. It's called brick pointing. Okay. Um, let's see. I want to get into some other areas here that have to usually come up when you're remodeling, and we're going to talk about electrical and plumbing. And this is all in your material, guys. You can read about all this in your material. If you're in the investor agent program, at some point you may want to get either the flipping program or the rental program, because this is where all this detail is coming from tonight. Okay. So in any case, back to oh, by the way, here it talks about laminate, vinyl. I generally don't like the cheap stuff. I don't like plastic on my floors and vinyl flooring. Okay. Um, it never turns out well. I always end up regretting it whenever I did do it. So I just don't like that. When we talked about paint, I just want to get down to see if we have the electrical wiring. I might have to go to a different section. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Electrical. In most cases, we're going to be looking at properties that have modern wiring, basically a 3-wire system, hot, neutral, and ground. Okay, that's basically your just standard 110 service. Okay, the service of the house might be a lot more robust than that, because you might have um, electrical appliances like electric dryer, electric stove. They require much higher sources of power. So you might have 220 service, 440 service, 330, all up the ladder like that. But generally, running through your walls, you're going to have just good old fashioned 110 service. All right. Um, in other words, wherever you plug in a lamp or a light fixture, that's going to be your hot, neutral, and ground. That's really all you're going to have there. But here's the point I'm trying to get to. Let's say you're in a house. It's an older city in the U.S. or Canada, and it's a great neighborhood, but the house was built pre-World War II. So you don't have either Romex or BX wiring. You got old knob and tubing. And almost everywhere now, because of the OSHA laws, or BOCA laws, excuse me, the BOCA rules, every municipality is being asked to follow these rules. So one of those rules is wherever you have old knob and tubing that's visible to the naked eye, you've got to replace it. There's no exceptions. Okay. Now, one caveat here is this. It's what's visible to the naked eye. So if you have knob and tubing wiring in your walls, you can't see it. You don't have to replace it. Again, this is in most places. So what happens is you start replacing it in your basement, wherever you can see it. You've also now got to replace the panel, the electric panel. And whenever you replace an electric panel, you've also got to replace the meter socket outside. That's where the power comes down for what's called the weatherhead. So you got your electrical service coming in from the service provider, right? And from the street, it comes to what's called the weatherhead down to your meter socket. From there it goes in through the exterior wall into your panel. Now that's old style. Nowadays, a lot of places have underground wiring, but once you get to the house, it's the same principle. You got a line called the service line that comes to your between your meter and your panel. What I'm getting at here is if when you replace a panel, you automatically now have to replace the meter and the line between the meter and the panel. Okay, now that's a lot of work. It doesn't have to be that expensive. I mean, you're probably talking a few $1,000s at most. But what does get expensive is if you have to replace the wiring in the walls. Now, I know I just told you if you can't see it, you're okay. But if you open up a wall to do some plumbing or to run another circuit or something like that, technically, and you can see that line, technically you're supposed to replace it if it's the old knob and tubing. The reason it's dangerous, by the way, guys, is it's usually made out of aluminum, and aluminum gets extremely hot and can ignite other material like insulation and light wood, like pine, for example. That's why we used to have so many house fires, because of that old aluminum wiring. So in any case, wiring can you definitely want to make sure it's modern. If it's not already modern, I would replace any panel that has the old glass tube fuses with the new breaker panels. And when you do that, just remember, in most places, you now got to replace the meter socket as a result. It all has to be inspected too. All right, so that's electrical. Plumbing. The cool thing is while copper was king for a long, long time, it also created a lot of problems. Like when pipes would freeze, copper would break. So there's new materials been out for over a generation now, called PEX. And PEX is it's basically a man-made material, you know, sort of like from the plastics family. Okay, so it's petroleum based is what it is. And the good news is it can freeze, but it won't break. I've never had a student or a client tell me that their PEX is frozen and broken. In any case, and it's also not something that's in high demand on the secondary market. There was a while there where criminals were breaking into places and stealing the copper piping to sell it for resale. Well, nobody wants to resell plastic, right? So you're okay when it comes to that material. Now, we also don't want to see old terracotta tile drain pipes. That is really old school, like over 100 years ago. If you see that, you definitely got to put in ABS or PVC, plastic piping for your waste lines, okay? And make sure your stack is okay too. So old stuff, get rid of it, put in the new stuff, and you'll be okay with plumbing and again electrical too. All right, let's do this. I want to see. We talked about a little bit about the outside already, the sheds, swimming pools, swing sets, fences, driveways, sidewalks. Let's see what else. Actually, let me do this. Let me check real quick for questions. I just realized I gave you guys a big pile of information there and have not checked questions. Let me check for questions and we'll get back to this. Okay, this is Fassel. Hey, Fassel, how you doing, buddy? I was just curious, what does it roughly cost to rewire and redo plumbing for a 2,000 square foot home? Well, a lot of it depends, Fassel, on the architecture and the structure. Is it one story? Is it two story? If you have a one-story home, Fassel, and for everyone else, it's always much easier to redo the rough-in plumbing, because you can access it mostly from the basement, okay? But as soon as you add a second or third floor, man, now you've got to get into the walls and going through floors. Boy, that can get pretty expensive. So 2,000 square foot home, that could either be a ranch or a small, decent sized two-story home. And I don't have any hard figures for you, Fassel. And the reason is every part of the country will have different labor rates. So where you are in northern New Jersey, you're going to be paying probably twice as much as somebody will be paying in Fayetteville, North Carolina, okay, for labor. Materials would generally be about the same. So the architecture and the construction type, Fassel, will be a big factor in that, and also where you are. But what I would do is I would definitely get a plumber out there to give you an estimate, and probably 2 or 3 plumbers to be exact. And also, for everybody here, if you're not already, you may want to consider joining your local REIA organization, REIA, Real Estate Investors of America. And the reason is contractors are often members of those groups, and it's a good way to get to know them. Okay, and I'm not saying they'll do stuff for you for free, but often they'll do you favors like come by at the end of a day and check out a job for you real quickly to see what it's going to take. And you can generally rely on them because they want to get other business from other investors, and they don't want to let you down because they want you to give them a good testimonial when they need one. So it's a great way to network and get contacts in the contracting world. So good question. That's that could be a challenge. Hopefully, it's on a single family. I'm sorry, a ranch style home, Fassel. Okay. Let's see. Fassel says, I'm good for the 27th through 29th. Oh, that's awesome, Fassel. Yeah, come on down. I think Tom Slaterbeck's coming. I'm not sure if Daryl can make it, but all three of you guys, heck, you could. So, Fassel, you could start off on the way down, pick up Daryl, and pick up Tom on the way because they'll be on your way down here to Northern Virginia. I'd love to see these three guys again. So, all right, let's do this. I want to make sure I covered all the components on the inside and outside, and I think that I did. If anybody thinks of anything that I did not cover, please let me know. Type it in, and while you're doing that, just a few more things. Big picture stuff, guys. When you're remodeling for flipping, always remember your remodeling wants to be commensurate with the area. It has to be within the market range of where your house is being flipped. So in other words, if you're flipping a medium price home to a middle class family, let's just say it's $225,000. It might be a good idea to do some Sunday open houses, go visit and see what is people are using right now in terms of material. Okay, and you want to be in alignment with that. You don't want to don't fall into the trap of say, well, I'm going to get more expensive carpet and more expensive kitchens because then I'll have a better house. Well, you'll have a better house, but always remember this: pricing. The market will only bear what the market will bear. So the market will not reward you very much for remodeling above the market range for that neighborhood. So just to kind of give you another example here, we talked about carpeting. If you're flipping $1 million house, you definitely do not want to use $27 a yard carpet. You want to use probably $75 a yard carpet. Okay. That's one thing I wanted to point it out is make sure you're remodeling in a way that's fits in with the neighborhood. Another thing is this: when we remodel for rentals, we generally remodel differently than we remodel for flippers. In other words, we'll go down a grade on the carpet like we talked about before. When we get plumbing fixtures for rentals, we'll just get the basic faucet. We won't get all the bells and whistles like soap dispensers and hoses and things like that. Just standard basic products that will last forever on the rentals. Okay. And and here's another thing too. You definitely want to know at the outset what your project is. If your project is to flip, stick with the project, stick with the program. I've had a lot of students over the years say, well, my client changed their mind halfway through, decided they would rather keep the house because they wanted the rent coming in. Well, the challenge is you would remodel for rentals differently than you would remodel for flipping. Okay. People are more transient in the rentals. They move every couple of years, and you got to then go in and potentially repaint and recarpet. All right. So if you're going to do that, it behooves us to just use what's necessary for rentals. So in other words, just remember that if you change the scope of your project, you could be overspending on remodeling, and there's no way to recoup that because you can't charge more for rent. All right. We got some more questions, guys. Hang on one second. Thomas, hey Tom, I'm so glad to be seeing you again down there. You and Fassel, this is going to be awesome. Okay, so this is Bill Morrow. Hey, Bill. In Central PA, rewiring a two-story, 2,000 square foot home with a new 200 amp electrical service will run about $4,000 to $5,000 on the upper end. Thanks, Bill, for giving us that. So, Fassel, that won't be too far from you geographically and price-wise, okay? And we've been able to do whole properties like that too for that or even less. Yeah, this is from Daryl. Thanks, Bill, by the way, for sharing that. Okay, this is from Daryl. If you're an agent, schedule through your MLS to see what is being done in that community. Yeah, for those of you who have your license, it's easy to, like if you're not a licensee, just go to the open houses. If you're a licensee, you can use your license like Daryl's suggesting here, schedule showings to go see the property. So you can just tell them you're previewing it, which is what you're doing. You're previewing the property. Okay. So thanks, Daryl, for sharing that. All right. All right. Tell you what, guys, let's hold off talking about contractors, which is coming up next. I just don't want to start it because we've only got a few minutes here, and I'd rather spend more time on that because that's absolutely one of the most sensitive parts of our business is working with contractors. It can be a very positive relationship when managed correctly. So let's just plan on talking about that next week. In fact, I'll write that down. So next week's webinar, I think we had to cancel it. We did. So the next webinar is going to be the 17th in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, in fact, 17th. And on the 17th, we will talk about contractors. And if any of you have any other subject you want to talk about, please let me know. Send me an email, and we'll prepare for it and work it into that week's webinar agenda. So, okay, guys, I appreciate you being on board, and I appreciate the questions and the input, Bill and everybody else, and Fassel and Tom and Daryl. I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar in 2 weeks. And for those of you in Northern Virginia, I'm here again for the next couple of weeks. I've been seeing a lot of familiar faces. Of course, this is where I used to live, and I was here 2 years ago teaching in these offices down here. For those of you coming to the big event, look forward to seeing you there. Be prepared and don't be afraid. In fact, I encourage you to ask questions and talk to Fassel and Tom and Daryl, because they just were at the one in Orlando. And Kate was there, Pam was there, Pam and her husband Tony. Plan on coming with pens and pencils and paper. Plan on doing a lot of learning, a lot of sharing, and walking away with a plan for yourself for the remainder of the year. So, okay, guys, hope you have an awesome rest of the week. Hope for those of you who celebrate Easter or Passover had a great Easter or Passover. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right, God bless you and have a good rest of the week. Bye-bye.